Alright guys, what's the crack? In this video we're going to talk about speed strength. So we're going to be talking about what we do in the weight room and how we can transfer that over for developing speed. So the big difference between what we do in the weight room and what we're doing on the pitch is what happens on the pitch happens much quicker. Okay, so if you're talking about, say, a bench press as an example, when you're bench pressing max load, you're moving quite slow and you're trying to grind and you get it up at the top eventually. But when you're talking about on the pitch, say if you hand someone off, you're talking about a much more quick movement. Same thing applies with a squat. So if you're doing a squat, think about your max squat. Your max squat is going to be slow, okay? You're going to be using a massive amount of motor units if you're maxing out on your squat, so you're going to really be using as much of that, muscular strength that you have, and your nervous system is really going to be active. But again, it's going to be very, very slow. Think about a sprint. Your sprint and your contact between the foot and the ground is much more rapid, okay? So it's much quicker. So what we want to be able to do with a sprint is, or acceleration is, we want to be able to use all those muscle fibers, but we want to be able to activate them very, very quickly. And that's the big difference between what we do in the gym and what's happening on the pitch. So how can we take the nervous tissue adaptations and the contractile fiber adaptations with our myofibril hypertrophy, how can we take those adaptations that we've got out of the gym and apply that then to the pitch? And we do that through plyometrics. So if you have a look back on the contrast program, which was in the Gym and GAA series, and you look at the championship season program, you'll see there's a whole pile of plyometrics in there. So you're doing a strength-based movement, and then you're doing a plyometric movement afterwards. So you might be doing a squat, and then after the squat, you're doing a bound, or you might be doing some kind of jump. And that again is to activate that nervous system and to take the strength that you have in the gym and transfer that into being able to develop speed strength, so being able to really use that strength but use it rapidly. Now if you're in your pre-season and there's other things that you need to focus on in terms of developing as an athlete, you might not have the time to do plyometrics, but definitely come championship time, you shouldn't be bodybuilding, you shouldn't be spending 2 hours in the gym, but you can definitely allocate a lot more time to this plyometric work. So I'm going to switch cameras now and I'm going to give you some examples of plyometrics. So we've got jumps, which are a 2-leg takeoff and a 2-leg landing. We've got bounds, which are jumping from left leg to right leg, and then we've got hops, which are jumping from right leg to right leg or left leg to left leg. So these are the different types of plyometrics, and the jump is easiest, then the bound gets a little bit harder, and then the hop gets a little bit harder again. There's also different ways of initiating the plyometrics. So there's a way of you're just starting from a dead start and you're just going. There's a way of where you do a double contact, so you do a little bit of a hop beforehand, and that kind of gives you, it's called a stretch shortening cycle, which allows you to generate a bit more force. You can do your plyometric continuously, so you could do a jump into a jump into a jump, or you could do a jump and a stick. So there's a load of different ways of actually doing these plyometrics, and they give slightly different kind of stimulus to the nervous system. So similarly to our resistance training and other aspects of training, plyometrics can be prescribed on an individual basis. So you wouldn't take someone who has never done plyometrics before and get them to do hops, continuous double contact hops over and over and over again, because that's just going to be way too much for them. They won't be able to do it, and they probably won't have the stability to do it. So again, the plyometrics can be progressive. What I'll do is I'll put together a kind of start-off plyometrics program in order to look at developing speed strength. So you kind of have two options with your plyometrics. By doing lower intensity plyometrics spread out during the week, you'll build on the coordination of the movements and kind of getting familiar with the movements. And there can be some cardiovascular benefits there as well. But really, if you want to focus on getting the nervous tissue active and really getting the most out of that nervous system, you need to be doing them at max intensity. So you really need to be pushing. So whenever you're doing a broad jump, you need to be jumping as far as you can. Or if you're ever doing like a vertical jump, jumping straight in the air, you need to be jumping as high as you can. So with regard to plyometrics, you can take one of those two approaches. You can do an approach where you do a small amount kind of fairly often during the week, or you could do like 2 really big sessions during the week where you really focus on giving those your max effort. The thing with plyometrics is, because it requires a lot of nervous system activation, you're going to need to give yourself a good break afterwards. So you're talking like 2 days rest afterwards. So what I'll do is I'll put together 2 sample days of a plyometrics program for people to start off with. It'll be fairly beginner orientated, because I'm guessing a lot of people that have watched this mightn't have done too much plyometrics before. I'll put that together and I'll leave that in the description somewhere, or I'll leave it in the Gym and GAA Facebook group for people. So if we're talking about those 2 sessions in the week, we're talking about 15 to 20 minutes on each session. We're talking about taking 3 days rest in between each, so we're talking 72 hours rest in between that day 1 and the next day you do your plyometrics, and you're talking about 50 contacts. So when I say 50 contacts, what I mean is, if you do a jump, that's 1. If you do 6 jumps, that's 6. If you do a hop, that's another 1. So 50 contacts per session, 100 contacts in total, and I won't go into too much more detail on that because I'll put that all together in the program for you to make it a little bit easier. That's the video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've gotten some value out of it, and I hope again it'll help you transfer the strength and the power that you have in the gym onto the pitch. I will see you in the next video. Slán.
Yes.